There are many places in the world that people are hesitant to explore, and caves are definitely one of them. Often seen as dark, mysterious, and potentially dangerous, caves hold secrets that few dare to uncover. After all, who really knows what's hiding inside? From hidden creatures to eerie, unexplained discoveries, here are 20 strange things people have found in caves. Number 20. The Lovelock Cave Giants. Here's one that has become super controversial. In Nevada, there is a place called Lovelock Cave, and in that cave there have been found many bones, which is not all that strange. But what is strange is that there are people who have claimed that they not only found human bones in the cave, but they found giant bones in that cave, as in bones that may have belonged to ancient people that were 3 meters tall or more. The legends about these so-called giants tie back to the native people of the land who claimed that their ancestors had fought off literal giants once upon a time. However, there's no proof that these giants were actually real, and there were far more regular-sized bones found in that cave. Just because you find someone tall doesn't mean that they were a giant, nor that they were part of a giant tribe. Number 19. Ellison Cave Pit. When you picture a cave, you picture one that goes horizontally into a rock face or some other pack of earth, right? Well, sometimes, such as with the Ellison Cave Pit in Georgia, they can go straight down into the earth. Ellison's Cave is one of the most popular caves in Georgia, and it's open to the public all year round. So if you do have the urge to go cave diving and you're near this area, it's a place that you might want to try out. While it may be a fun adventure for you, you should mind your step. It's a long way down, and it's a really, really dark spot, so you'll want to be careful or else. Number 18. The Catskills Crone. Now, what's a video about caves without at least one haunted object story? One day, 2 guys were allegedly going to the Catskills in New York, and they allegedly found an object that allegedly looked rather freaky. It had nails in its eye and even a rope around its neck. Typically, if you saw something like that, you may walk away slowly and never mention it to anyone ever. But instead, these 2 geniuses decided to take that statue home, allegedly, and they lived happily ever after. Or not. Instead, they began stating claims that they were being haunted by a spirit that lived inside of the statue, including weird things happening in their home and an apparition appearing before them. Allegedly, they eventually contacted some paranormal experts to remove the statue, and then they lived happily ever after, I think. Number 17. Sundong Cave. I've shown you a lot of weird items that have been found in caves, but what if I showed you one that was weird in its own merits? Enter Sundong Cave in Vietnam, the largest cave passage in the world today. And for the longest time, it was sealed off from people. Once they found a way inside, that's where they discovered rather quickly that this was so much more than a cave. In fact, the cave features its own ecosystem and a lot of species that live only in this cave. They have referred to it as the Garden of Eden due to its beauty and wonder. But the good news is that you can now visit it and have an intake all the wonder for yourself. Just be careful because you have to hike for 5 days just to get to it. Number 16. Maya Ritual Cave. Now, there won't be anything strange found in a ritual cave, will there? Oh, definitely not. The Mayans were an ancient race that dominated much of Mexico and South America, and then they just simply up and vanished. Nobody knows what exactly happened to them, but they have left plenty of clues behind. While doing some research below one of their prized cities, archaeologists found a massive cave structure that had over 150 objects from the Mayan Empire that was basically left untouched for many years. They believe that this was a ritual cave where they would go and do various actions for their gods. After all, the Mayans thought that caves like these were portals to the underworld, so it would have made sense that they would try and have something going on there. It's also pretty creepy to think about what else they might discover, so maybe we should just move on. Now it's time for today's topic. In a discovery that has left scientists and historians stunned, a team of researchers exploring a remote cave in the southwestern United States has uncovered a massive human skeleton. The cave, considered sacred by Native American tribes, had long been rumored to hold ancient secrets, but no one expected to find something so extraordinary. The skeleton, measuring over 12 feet tall, is far beyond the proportions of any known human. Its massive skull, elongated limbs, and unusually thick bones suggest it belonged to a being of immense strength and size. Initial carbon dating indicates the remains could be over 3,000 years old, predating most known civilizations in the region. What's even more puzzling is the condition of the cave. Surrounding the skeleton were intricate carvings and symbols etched into the walls, along with artifacts that appear to be ceremonial in nature. Some of the symbols resemble those found in Native American lore, which speaks of giant beings that once roamed the earth. While some experts believe this could be evidence of a lost race of giants, others are more skeptical, suggesting it might be a hoax or an unknown species. For now, the discovery raises more questions than answers, leaving the world to wonder, who or what was this giant? Number 15. A headless torso. Now, how about a real story that is truly terrifying and something you wouldn't want to come across yourself? In Idaho, of all places, back in the 1970s, a person went into a cave and found something truly unexpected, that of a headless torso. Now, the point is this freaked people out, and because it had no head, they weren't able to identify who the person was, how they had lost that head, and how they ended up in the cave. The entire thing started in 1979 when a family hunting for arrowheads in Buffalo Cave near Du Bois found the remains wrapped in burlap and buried in a shallow grave. There were very few clues that showed up, that is, until March of 1991, when a girl exploring the same cave system found a mummified hand, and later on, more body parts were located in another burlap bag. Fast forward to 2016, and thanks to some DNA testing, they were able to figure out who the person was, and his name was Joseph Henry Loveless. Now, before you go feeling bad for him, you should know that Mr. Loveless, well, he was not exactly a good person. In 1916, he had been placed in prison after having murdered his wife, and then he promptly escaped and went on the run. And as for who took him out, well, nobody really knows, and that's not the important part of the story. Nothing about the case was typical, and even finding him through DNA matches only took place because of a special non-profit organization that was trying to identify John Doe. When they did find his family members, they had no clue what had happened or what he had done, and it paints an even more curious picture about how he went from being on the run to being cut into pieces and then left in a cave in Idaho. The phrase, "this is how you get away with murder," comes to mind when you hear things like this. Number 14. The Strange Stones. Are you ready for a rather unique tale? This one starts off with a person going into a cave or not exactly told where, and it's the internet, so who cares? Now, the person who found some strange stones was known for going into caves all over the world and attempting to find the unique things that were inside of them, which clearly means that he needed to get out more in a much different way. Upon finding these stones, he could tell that there was something quite special about them, and according to the story, they were shaped in such a way that it was clearly not natural. Curious about what he had discovered, he then took the stones to an archaeologist to see what they made out of the discovery. And according to him, they found the stones to be not only unique in origin but ones that were tied to an ancient civilization that was long thought to be erased from the world. It also didn't hurt that these stones had the ability to glow, which obviously illuminated many things about them. Anyway, the seeker and the archaeologists both agreed that there was much more power within these stones than was previously thought, and that was enough for them to worry about what they could do in the hands of the wrong people. So they apparently hid the stones and took the origin of them to the grave. Dun dun dun. It's honestly hilarious what you can find on the internet these days, and this highlights the ultimate rule. Don't believe everything that you see. After all, this one was found after just researching one thing about weird things in cave, and it's a tale about glowing stones that could potentially destroy the world or something like that. It's not really clear, and I don't really care. For further proof of the story not being real, you haven't heard of stones glowing like that. In the tale, they claim that scientists from all over the world came to experience them, but if they did, why aren't more people trying to find the cave that the stones were in? Exactly. Number 13. A lemur graveyard. It's not really all that strange to find a place that has a bunch of animal bones of a particular species, as sometimes animals group together and they can die at the same time. However, in Madagascar, an underwater cave found a cache of bones that belonged to a long-extinct race of giant lemurs. This finding was made in 2015, pointing to one of the many lemur tribes that were killed when humans began living on the landmass. There used to be 50 such lemur species, and now there's only about 33. That number could drop if we keep screwing with the country's natural areas. People are fascinated by this underwater finding and have been trying to discover what had led to the lemur demise. Was it truly human hands that ended them, or was it something else that the species just couldn't prevent? For now, we just have to dive deeper to find out. Number 12. Ancient treasure found. Now, we're going to take a detour for this one and go back to the first entry on this list that I told you about. You have to remember how someone claimed to have found some glowing stones that tied to an ancient civilization and the incredible powers that they once had. Well, sadly, when it comes to archaeology, there are all kinds of people who want to make themselves seem bigger than they actually are and claim that they found treasures that they totally have not. Enter this lost civilization crew and the video that claims to have been found in a cave pointing to an ancient civilization of the past that people are clamoring to know more about. Now, there is a video and a website that dictates what is said to have been going on here, and you know what? It didn't have a whole lot of details about what actually was found, where it was found, and what civilizations it may have been tied to. I mean, they weren't even trying in a lot of ways to make it sound less fake, and if you go to that particular channel itself, you're going to see there are plenty of comments pointing out how fake it is to high heaven. So regardless of the field in our world, there are always going to be people who try to do scams. Number 11. Hobbits. Now, I'm not going to come out and say right off the bat that the next story is ridiculous or fake, as publications like even National Geographic have run with it, but what I will say is it's not exactly something that has been definitively proven. In this case, I'm talking about hobbits. Yes, just like some people believe that giants have roamed around at one point in time or another on the earth, There is an equal belief amongst the population that hobbits have been part of our world at one time. And by hobbits, I do truly mean short people well below the height of a regular human being. To back this up, there have been claims of hobbit-like beings that were found in a cave and other further claims that they may have been around a lot longer than you would imagine. However, due to the kind of ludicrous nature of it all, the validity of this one is still kind of out there. Number 10. Neanderthal engravings. Now, we're going to stick with the so-called cavemen for now because I'm going to yet another cave where Neanderthals are said to have lived, and this time they left something equally as important as their bones. They were great artists. Specifically, these were not only art pieces but engravings that were placed on a wall in a limestone cave in France. The date of the cave alongside the engravings point to it being somewhere around 57,000 years old, which is really, really old. That age helps it to stand out from other places, which includes some saying that there's no other cave like it in all of France. Equally as important, tools and bones were found in the caves that further prove that the space was lived in by someone, and more than likely that someone was Neanderthals. The engravings vary greatly in style, with some presenting a series of dots, another offering crooked lines that converge on a point, and one resembling a fan-like pattern. Now, some might not see the beauty or the point of this, but finding out more about these engravings and what they mean are a vital part of human history and understanding how we came to be. Now, we're still not perfectly in the know with what Neanderthals were like, so for now, we need things like this to understand them more and to see how the evolution of our species has continued on. It may just look like scribbles on a cave wall, but it meant something to someone a long time ago, and that needs to be honored. Number 9. Gooff's cave cannibals. When you look at the world right now, it's easy to point the finger and say, wow, we haven't really evolved all that much at all. But no matter how dark things are, they were technically worse in the past. For example, in the UK, there's a place called Gooff's Cave. Many tens of thousands of years ago, a group of people named Cro-Magnon lived inside, and they had a very unique method of eating. They carved up people and their bones and then they ate them. Evidence from the cave suggests that this cannibalistic behavior wasn't just for survival, but may have had ritualistic or symbolic significance. Researchers have found skulls that were carefully shaped into drinking vessels, indicating that these early humans may have used them in ceremonies or as tools. Marks on the bones show precision cuts, suggesting that the Cro-Magnons had a deep understanding of anatomy and were skilled at butchering. The engravings on some of the bones are thought to be some of the earliest examples of symbolic art, hinting at a complex cultural or spiritual belief system. This discovery has provided valuable insights into the harsh conditions of the Ice Age, where food scarcity may have driven such extreme behaviors. Despite the gruesome nature of these findings, they also highlight the resourcefulness and adaptability of early humans in the face of adversity. They even went as far as to engrave some of those bones that were left behind. So yes, we may have evolved, but sometimes it seems like it's only a slight little bit. Number 8. Israeli treasure. Unlike some other things that you've seen, there are some stories featuring amateur explorers finding things that are 100% real and epic. For example, meet Henzekai, a treasure hunter and explorer who was exploring some caves and crevices near the Sea of Galilee in Israel when he came across something that he never expected to find: coins and a pouch that could be traced back to the period of Alexander the Great. The coins, which bore the images of ancient rulers and deities, were remarkably well preserved, offering historians a rare glimpse into the economic and cultural exchanges of that era. Experts believe that the treasure dates back to the 4th century BCE, a time when Alexander's empire stretched across vast territories, influencing trade and commerce. The silver jewelry found alongside the coins was intricately designed, showcasing the craftsmanship and artistic sensibilities of the time. Archaeologists have speculated that the items may have belonged to a wealthy merchant or traveler who hid them during a time of conflict or invasion. The discovery has sparked renewed interest in the region's history, with researchers hoping to uncover more artifacts that could shed light on life during Alexander's reign. Henzekai's find has also inspired other amateur explorers to take up treasure hunting, though authorities have reminded the public to report any discoveries to ensure proper preservation and study. Along with the coins were pieces of silver jewelry, which included rings, bracelets, and earrings, and he found quite the collection. And the local government praised it as one of the biggest findings in their recent history. Just like the weapons that were discussed earlier, it's believed that these coins and items were stashed within a crevice to presumably be located later, and yet the person who stored it never came back. But now they've been found, and everyone rejoices. Number 7. Roman swords. Now, if you're looking for something a bit more modern, well, I have something that might fit that bill. In 2023, a special discovery was made in the Dead Sea. Now, I don't mean the scrolls that I talked about earlier, those were found many, many years ago, but instead, I'm talking about a set of 4 Roman swords that had been within a nearby sea cave for about 1,900 years. You would think that between the atmosphere and the waters that likely flooded the cave from time to time that the swords would be an absolute wreck. Yet, according to those who found the swords, they were actually in near mint condition. That's not the only twist in this tale, though. The only reason that these swords and a set of other Roman weapons were even found was because some people taking pictures of the nearby rocks. The weapons were actually stashed by somebody in a place that was almost unreachable by people, so they clearly did not want anyone to find them. Based on that fact, archaeologists believe that these weapons may have been seized by Jewish rebels during an uprising against the Roman Empire, and then they stored them away to be used for another day. They clearly never came back to them again, but they are being treasured now for their value by those who discovered them. Number 6. New human species. Now, this one is not a hoax, but instead it's a potential twist on our evolutionary chain. One of the biggest misconceptions when it comes to archaeology is that we know exactly when and how everything happened until Homo sapiens were born. Instead, as has been proven in 2019, we are still learning quite a bit. In a cave in the Philippines, bones of a brand new human species were recovered, and what made that species stand out was that they were barely over a meter tall, and they had adapted themselves to climbing the trees in the area. Just as important is that they were around from about 50,000 to 67,000 years ago, which means that they would have been in existence in the same period as Neanderthals and Homo sapiens. So then, what exactly does that mean for people as a whole? Well, if we're only learning about this new species just now within the last 5 years, that means that we really need to see if there are other links or branches in the path to our existence. And if such a group did live in a new way in the Philippines, what's to say there aren't others elsewhere? That's why we have to keep on digging into the past, because you never know where it might lead you. Number 5. Baby dragons. Sadly, in our own world, we do not have dragons, and that's kind of terrible for a whole lot of reasons, but it's probably kind of good as well. Because of the myths and legends that surround dragons, there have been times when people have been fooled into thinking that they exist, such as in this cave in Slovenia where around 400 years ago, people came across a special type of fish that when it was in egg form looked kind of like what most people would perceive as being a baby dragon. The creature in question is the olm, a blind, cave-dwelling amphibian that has fascinated scientists and locals alike for centuries. Olms are entirely aquatic and have adapted to life in complete darkness, with their small, underdeveloped eyes covered by skin. Instead of relying on sight, they use highly sensitive organs to detect vibrations and chemical changes in the water around them. These adaptations make them perfectly suited to their subterranean environment, where food is scarce and survival depends on efficiency. The olm's ability to regenerate damaged body parts, such as limbs and tails, has also drawn comparisons to mythical creatures, further fueling the dragon-like mystique. Despite their eerie appearance, olms are harmless and play an important role in the delicate ecosystems of the caves they inhabit. The irony isn't that they're just huge fish, but that they're actually called human fish because of how they look when it comes to their skin. Their pigmentation is honestly close to human flesh. And just so you know, it doesn't grow anywhere close to dragon size, but it does live a long life of about 100 years, and it can keep itself alive for around 12 years without food. Real dragons can't do that. Number 4. The oldest Neanderthal. Neanderthals are a key part of human evolution, and people who find their bones are quick to try and discover when they existed to get a bigger picture of what Earth was like very long ago. In Italy, in 2015, the skull of a Neanderthal was located in a cave encrusted by other elements, and when they measured how old it was, they found it to be 170,000 years old, which would make it the oldest Neanderthal ever found and so a key insight into that period of time. The discovery of this skull has provided researchers with a rare opportunity to study the physical characteristics of early Neanderthals, including their robust bone structure and distinct facial features. By analyzing the skull, scientists have been able to learn more about the Neanderthal brain size and how it compares to modern humans. The cave where the skull was found also contains stone tools and animal remains, suggesting that Neanderthals were skilled hunters and toolmakers who adapted to their environment. Evidence of fire use in the cave indicates that they were capable of controlling fire for warmth, cooking, and protection. Additionally, isotopic analysis of the bones has revealed details about their diet, which included a mix of meat, plants, and possibly even seafood. This discovery has also sparked discussions about the interactions between Neanderthals and early Homo sapiens, as their timelines overlapped for thousands of years. Understanding how Neanderthals lived and adapted to their environment could provide clues about why they eventually went extinct while modern humans thrived. Now, if they can learn more about it from these bones, well, we could gain valuable information about the culture, how they adapted, and how it further led to their extinction. Number 3. Neanderthals. Now, at first, hearing that the bones and fossils of a group of Neanderthals were discovered in a cave doesn't sound all that surprising. I mean, after all, most people associate that group of previous humanoids as being cave people, so it makes sense that you'll find a bunch of their bones in a cave. It only grows in logic when you hear that they were found in a cave near Rome, as that would make sense because based on the projected patterns of the Neanderthals and other previous human types via migration patterns out of Africa. But where things do get strange is that these fossils were not intact. Instead, they were butchered up pretty heavily. Oh, and this would not be the first time that something bad had been found in this particular cave, as a skull was previously located there before other bones were found in 2021. So how did those bones get butchered up? Well, simply put, they were not the only ones in that cave. According to archaeologists, the cavemen were attacked by a group of hyenas who literally made a meal out of them, which would explain why the bones were in such tatters. The remains belonged to 1 woman, 7 men, and a young boy, and that paints an interesting picture of the hyena attack, given that they were able to take them all on and presumably kill them all. Just curious is that there were also rhino and horse bones that were found in the cave. One of the reasons that the bones were so well preserved was because of a presumed earthquake that sealed the cave up and made it so that nobody could see the bones for tens of thousands of years. Number 2. Biblical scroll. Now, how about we have a look at something that is actually real and was indeed found in a cave? Fragments of a biblical scroll that said to date back 1,900 years were discovered in the Cave of Horror in the Judean desert in Israel back in 2021. If you are well versed in your history, you would know that this is not the first time that something like this has been found in Israel, as scrolls of all kinds have been hidden in caves over the centuries and millennia, leading to monumental findings like the Dead Sea Scrolls. And if you're wondering why the place is called the Cave of Horrors, it's not a name that's for show. You see, when the cave was discovered by the more wide world several decades back, they found the bones of 40 skeletons inside. These were not just some random people, they were a group that had partaken in a revolt and were placed there to starve to death, and they left the bones there to boot. The scroll in the cave was found to have been from the age of that revolt and contains passages from 2 of the Christian biblical books, which instantly makes it an important discovery due to its religious origins. The texts were hailed as a miraculous finding and were immediately taken by Israel to be preserved and treasured. It might seem strange to you that such important scrolls would be left in a cave where almost anything could happen, but when you consider the history of Israel with all of the turmoil and strife that's taken place and all the nations and empires that have conquered it over the years and ruled with an iron fist, well, you can see why its people did all they did to protect these precious papers. Number 1. The cave dwellers. We've already talked about how people have lived in caves in the past, but what if I told you that a group of people lived in one cave for about 78,000 years? Would that get your attention? The cave in question comes from Kenya, where multiple pieces of evidence point to the fact that Homo sapiens lived in this cave and not the surrounding area. There are multiple pieces of proof that seem to point to that conclusion. Archaeologists have uncovered tools, animal bones, and even remnants of ancient fires, all of which suggest that the cave was continuously occupied for tens of thousands of years. The tools found include sharp stone blades and scrapers, which were likely used for hunting and preparing food. The animal bones show evidence of butchering, indicating that the inhabitants were skilled hunters who relied on local wildlife for sustenance. Additionally, the presence of ochre fragments suggests that the cave dwellers may have engaged in symbolic or artistic activities, possibly using the ochre for body painting or decoration. The cave's stable environment would have provided consistent shelter from harsh weather, predators, and other dangers, making it an ideal long-term home. Researchers believe that the cave's location near freshwater sources and abundant plant life also contributed to its appeal as a permanent settlement. This discovery sheds light on how early humans adapted to their environment and developed strategies for survival over millennia. The belief is that the cave had served as a better homestead than a tropical area outside of it due to the natural shifts in weather and how it likely affected the people. The group was apparently so fine with the cave that they didn't even travel to the nearby coast to try and get fresh fish to eat. That's all from the world of caves and the strange things that have been found in them over the years. Were you surprised by any of these discoveries? Which one are you glad you're only learning about now? Do you know of another cave that has amazed or creeped people out? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to check out the other cool videos showing up on the screen, and I'll see you next time.